Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we are going to do a simple stenciled background. I'm going to be using some products from the Hedgehog Hollow and Nuvo Embellishing Mousse. This product's been around for a long time, but I don't think it gets enough credit. It is absolutely beautiful and it creates a beautiful texture in the background. So I took one of the sentiments from the March kit, and it says loved beyond measure. And it's actually in a long strip, and I cut the words apart. Don't freak out. You can actually put it right back together on a block or in a stamping tool and stamp it how it originally came out of the package. I just snipped it apart and stacked the sentiment together because it worked better for this card. That's one thing I love about photopolymer stamps. You can cut them apart and put them right back together, and it's just like nothing ever happened. Amazing. I used a little bit of washi tape to put my paper on the back of my stencil so that it would, the paper itself wouldn't shift. I don't like to do my stencil down on my work surface because I move stuff around so much. Embellishment mousse has a very different texture to it than pastes or glitters. It is a very smooth consistency after you work with it and get it warmed up a little bit. It kind of comes off out of the jar. It seems like it doesn't want to move or do anything. So it's a little bit like working with cold butter would be a great example of what the texture of this is like. It's kind of like working with cold butter. So you have to work with it a little bit to get it where you want it to be. Now this isn't as difficult to get off of stencils and your other tools as say like glitter is. It washes right off, but I still don't recommend letting it dry. So you just want to pull it off and then go and immediately take all of your stuff, your stencil and everything to the sink and rinse it off in some warm water. For my sentiment, I wanted to do, I kind of didn't realize I was doing it until after the fact, but I kind of went with a red, white, and blue theme because I ended up using some red confetti hearts. And what I did was I stamped this the first time and I didn't get a good impression on the bottom. So I pulled out a stamping mat, and it's just a piece of foam. You can use a mouse pad for this. This happens to be one from Stampin' Up that I've had for years and years and years and years. It just gives make sure that I get a really good impression with my stamps. Red rubber stamps have that mat behind them, have that squishy foam behind them, whereas photopolymers don't. So if you're having trouble getting a good impression with a photopolymer stamp, maybe you need to just add a simple mat underneath of your stamping, and it will allow you to have a little bit more pressure more evenly across the surface, and you'll get a better impression. And so I did that, and I wanted to die cut this, and as you know, I'm not a fussy cutter, so I used my silhouette to die cut this, and I take a picture of the mat and everything, and I put it in my machine, and I was like, oh man, I got to take a picture of this first. I do recommend having a black background for this, and I'm also going to go ahead and jump over into the software and Silhouette and show you how I do this really quick in the Silhouette Studio software. Alright, so we're going to import this into Silhouette Studio on my Picscan mat. And I'm just going to select the picture, and let's see, I put that in a new folder. There it is. And I'm going to import that. And my camera is already calibrated. Calibration instructions are over on Silhouette's website, and they do give some really good instructions on how to calibrate. But if you have any questions or get stuck on anything, please definitely, you can send me an email, and I'll be happy to see if I can't help you out on this. This is a function of Silhouette that has made me stick with it because I have digital stamps that I use and can cut out, and sentiments and any stamps that I don't have dies for, I can still cut them out and they'll be pretty. I can reorient stamps like I did on this one the Loved Beyond Measure is actually in a great big huge single line. And I cut the stamp and stacked it. And I still want it to be, I still want to cut it out and put it on my card. So I am going to use the trace function and select this, and I'm gonna outline the outer edge of everything here. And what I'm going to do now is close my trace because I've already done that. And then I'm going to select this and offset it. And see how it grouped everything together? It automatically does that. I don't have to do it. And I'm going to put in my favorite measurement. I'm going to apply that. And then I'm going to close my offset panel. And then I'm going to select the inside and delete that, because now I'm just going to cut the outside edge of this. Now I want to be able to stack this sentiment, and instead of cutting this out once and then using it as a guide to cut it out multiple times, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out on my paper while I have it here. And that way I will be able to stack this up a couple different times, and I will have a stacked sentiment. And I'm going to send this on over. I'm using 80-pound cardstock. I'm cutting this. I'm going to do 2 passes, and I'm also going to use overcut. The overcut feature in Silhouette for the Silhouette Studio program lifts the blade out of the paper and then puts it back down and continues cutting. Or if you don't have this on, it just continues to cut, and that's where you get a lot of bad corners and bad edges in your project. I'm just going to go ahead and send this over, and it's going to cut, and then I will be back and we'll finish up the card. We have done all of that, and our machine has cut this out. This is what it brings me. I have my sentiment all nice and die cut, and then I have the 3 images that the 3 pieces that are behind that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And I'm able to stack that up and give that a little bit more oomph than just that little plain piece of paper there with my sentiment on it. And I'll just use some Nuvo liquid adhesive really quickly and stack that up. The hearts that I have are actually they're teeny tiny little confetti hearts, and I think it came from a kit, but Nuvo has a set of these teeny tiny hearts as well. So you can use those. I know I have seen the teeny tiny hearts at like a local big box craft store as well. So you can use anything you wanted to for this, but I'll literally just take a handful of them and sprinkle them across the front of the card, and then take my jewel picker and my liquid Nuvo adhesive and place them everywhere randomly across the front of my card. And really, I enjoyed doing this. This card took maybe 20 minutes to make, and that included putting all these little itty bitty hearts on it, and I have a close-up picture at the end of the video for this. Don't forget to head over to the Hedgehog Hollow and get your subscription box today. Always unique stamps, always very different, always a specific theme every month, and usually Alexandra does a reveal close to the end of the month or the very beginning of the month. So definitely head over and snag that. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can see what other things I am creating and doing. And I am at home again working, so I have more stuff coming for you. I also mentioned in the pick scan part of my video that I have another video describing the overcut feature and why it's important to use in your silhouette projects, and I will link to that in the description below. Also, all of the products I use are listed below. And I'm sitting here kind of giggling at myself because I am right-handed, and I did all of this with my left hand. I did all the glue part with my left hand, and it's kind of awkward. I am trying to use my left hand a little bit more so I'm not so dominant in my right. Just so I can do things a little bit quicker in the craft room and use my poor left hand that doesn't get used a whole lot. Anyway. I'm giggling at myself about that. Anyway, don't forget to get your kit today and get these absolutely adorable, unique products. I have a video from last week. I have a video coming up next week for this March kit. Don't forget to head over and check those out. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have an amazing crafty day.